The transport bay of the Galactic Academy station varies smelled like recycled oxygen, polished titanium, and the particular brand of arrogance that only comes from species who have never been truly afraid of anything. Commander Kale Vera stood at the center of the observation deck, his forearms clasped behind his back, his pale violet eyes scanning the new batch of recruits filing in from the docking corridor. The Vrithian officer had processed hundreds of academy transfers in his career, Cerealians, Mendrath, Calfari, even a pair of crystalline beings from the outer rings. He had seen every shape intelligence could take. But this was his first human. Kale Vera watched the creature walk through the gate with mild, almost bored curiosity. The human registered as Ethan Cross, Beast Handler, Tier 7 certification, Earth origin, was smaller than Kale had expected. Barely 1.8 meters. 2 arms. No scales, no exoskeleton, no bioluminescent markings. Soft-looking skin. A plain face with 2 forward-facing eyes that caught the light in a way that seemed, frankly, unimpressive. The surrounding recruits noticed him too. The Cerealians, 6 of them, each standing nearly 3 meters tall with reinforced bone ridges along their shoulders, were the first to react. One of them, a senior cadet named Drax, leaned toward his companion and made a clicking sound in his native tongue that the translation implant rendered as, "Is that it? The apex species?" Laughter rippled through the group. The Calfari, with their wide compound eyes and dense armored hides, exchanged antenna touches that communicated amusement. Even the Mendrath, typically reserved, wrapped in their neural silk robes, tilted their elongated heads with something like condescension. Ethan Cross walked through all of it like a man crossing a quiet street. He didn't look bothered. He didn't look defensive. He just looked like he was waiting for something. Kale Vera stepped forward, activating the ceremonial tone that silenced the room. "Recruits. You have been selected for the Interspecies Academy Combat and Cooperation Program. Over the next 6 cycles, you will train alongside beings unlike yourselves. You will be challenged. You will be humbled." He paused, his violet eyes landing briefly on Ethan. "You will learn what real strength looks like." He hadn't meant it as a slight toward the human. But the room clearly took it that way. Another ripple of amusement. Drax clicked again. The translation implant caught it. "At least the small one will be easy to carry when he collapses." Ethan Cross finally looked up. Not at Drax. Not at Kale. He looked back down the corridor he had entered through, and he whistled. The sound that answered was not a sound Kale Vera had heard before. It was low. Structural. The kind of vibration that didn't travel through air so much as through floor, resonating up through the soles of every boot in the room, climbing the bones of every leg, squeezing something primal in the chest that whispered, "Run." Every recruit in the bay went still. Then it came through the corridor. The Vreth class habitat certification had listed the creature simply as Earth megafauna, class unknown, handler authorization required. Kale had seen the file. He had not read it carefully. He regretted that now. It was a bear. But saying it was a bear was like saying a supernova was a fire. The animal that padded through the entry gate was an adult Kodiak, 680 kilograms of layered muscle, dense fur, and absolute biological authority. It stood on 4 legs that looked like they had been carved from old-growth timber. Its head alone was the size of a Cerealian torso. When it breathed, the exhale was audible across the entire observation deck. It looked at the assembled recruits the way mountains look at clouds. Complete indifference. Total, unbothered supremacy. The Cerealians, creatures who regularly wrestled river predators for sport on their homeworld, took 3 involuntary steps backward. Drax, the one who had been laughing, pressed himself against the far wall with a flatness that suggested his body had made the decision without consulting his mind. The Calfari chittered in alarm, their armored hides clicking as their legs tried to decide between fight and flight and settled on a vibrating, stationary panic. The Mendrath did not move, but their neural silk began cycling through colors rapidly, the Mendrath equivalent of screaming. Commander Kale Vera did not move either. He was Vrithian. He had discipline. He had decades of military training. He had survived 3 inter-system conflicts and a gravitational anomaly that had nearly pulled his cruiser apart. And he was gripping the railing behind him hard enough to dent it. Ethan Cross walked forward and put his hand on the animal's head. Just rested it there, his small, 2-fingered, unarmored hand, on the skull of a creature that could dismantle a reinforced shuttle door with one swipe. "Easy, Rex," he said quietly. "We're good." The bear made a sound. Low, rolling. It leaned into Ethan's hand like a large dog looking for affection. The whole enormous body shifted with the motion, and the floor groaned under the redistributed weight. Ethan looked up at the room. He still didn't look bothered. Kale Vera dismissed the group to quarters with less ceremony than he had intended. His voice was level. His posture was correct. But when the last recruit had filed out, he crossed the deck and stopped in front of Ethan Cross, who was feeding Rex something from a pouch at his belt, something that smelled like raw protein and made the bear's eyes half close in satisfaction. "Handler Cross," Kale said. "Commander." Ethan didn't look up. "That animal." Kale paused, choosing his phrasing carefully. "Is it safe aboard the station?" Ethan finally looked at him. Those 2 forward-facing eyes. Calm. Steady. The eyes of something that had grown up on the same planet as that bear and considered it a companion. "Rex is fine as long as nobody startles him," Ethan said. "Or threatens me." A small pause. "Or comes at me fast." "Those are significant conditions." "They're the same conditions you'd apply to most of your recruits, Commander. Rex is just more honest about them." Kale looked at the bear. Rex looked back at him. The gaze was not aggressive. It was something far more unsettling, it was evaluating. The same look a veteran soldier gives a new officer. Deciding. "How long have you had him?" Kale asked. "Since he was a cub." Ethan scratched Rex behind one massive ear. 8 years. He weighs 683 kilos. 701 after a big meal. Ethan smiled for the first time. It was a small smile, but it reached his eyes. "He's been heavier." Kale stood quietly for a moment. He was recalibrating. Not just his assessment of Ethan Cross, but something older, something deeper, his model of the universe and what was possible in it. He had studied humans academically. 2 arms. Soft bodies. No natural armor. Comparatively slow. Comparatively weak. He had read those words and thought he understood them. He had not understood what it meant that a species with no natural armor, no natural weapons, and no natural size advantage had looked at the largest land predator on their planet and decided, as a conscious choice, to walk up to it, earn its trust, raise it from infancy, and bring it to a Galactic Academy station as a companion. Not as a weapon. As a companion. "Handler Cross," Kale said finally. "What is your function here?" "Officially. Your file lists combat-adjacent support, but no primary combat role." Ethan looked at him steadily. "I'm here to work alongside your recruits in extreme environment operations. Terrain assessment, large predator zones, catastrophic fauna events." He tilted his head slightly. "Places where size and armor don't help as much as knowing how to talk to things." Kale looked at Rex one more time. The bear had lowered his head to the floor and closed his eyes, deeply unbothered by the entire station, the commander, the 6 Cerealians still probably vibrating somewhere in the dormitory wing, and everything else in the known galaxy. "And if a situation escalates beyond talking?" Kale asked. Ethan Cross glanced down at his companion, at the 683 kilograms of ancient, patient, absolute biological authority sleeping calmly against his leg. That's what Rex is for, he said. Later, in his quarters, Commander Calvera pulled up the restricted academic file he had never fully read. Earth Megafauna Survey. Status, ongoing. Note to all Academy personnel, Earth's dominant sapient species evolved in direct competition with some of the largest apex predators in the known biological record. Behavioral trait of domestication, the deliberate formation of cross-species loyalty bonds, appears to be unique among Class 4 intelligences. Recommend treating all human-affiliated fauna as extension of the handler's capabilities. Do not approach without handler present. Do not make sudden movements. Do not laugh at the human. Kale closed the file. He thought about Drax pressing himself flat against the wall. He thought about Ethan Cross resting his hand on that enormous head like it was the most natural thing in any galaxy. He thought, we have been measuring the wrong things. He thought, we have been afraid of the wrong species. Then he set an alarm for morning briefings, turned off his light, and lay in the dark for a very long time, listening to the distant, rhythmic sound, deep and structural, traveling up through the floor, of Rex breathing somewhere on the deck below. And for the first time in his career, Commander Calvera understood what it meant to share a station with an apex predator. He just hadn't expected the human to be the more dangerous one.